Being productive and organized in Qlik using spaces is extremely quick and easy. I'm going to show you how to create a space from the catalog. So up at the top right, I'm going to hit create new. I'm going to scroll down and then I'm going to come to the space option. So choosing that, I can then name my space, add a description, and choose the type. For this example, I'm just going to choose IT department. And the thinking here is that if I have a business with multiple departments, IT, finance, human resources, sales, operations, whatever, I can basically create spaces for each team or each department so that each team has its own members, whether it's business users, managers, report builders, data architects, anyone that needs to have access to data and applications or dashboards can be added to these groups. And that's going to make it really easy to be collaborative, but also make sure that no one can see data that they're not supposed to see. So we're covering governance and we're covering collaboration all in one go. Now down here, I have two types of spaces to choose from. A shared space is more collaborative. It's a little more permissive. You still need access to that space to be able to see anything. But once you're in that space, it's a little more open, especially for developers to be able to work together on reports, dashboards, what have you. Managed spaces are a little more locked down and strict. Those are good for production or live business user ready applications once everything is already developed. So I'm going to choose shared space and I'm going to hit create. Okay, so I've now created this space and now I'm ready to add data, data connections to databases or APIs, or just start creating things like dashboards or reports or what have you. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create new, and I'm going to create an application. It's that first option. And an application is basically I load in data, I model that data using tables that are associated or related using keys. And then after I do all that, I then have a dashboard canvas where I can create multiple dashboards with many charts, buttons, images, logic, variables, anything I want. It's kind of an all encompassing super dashboard. So I'm going to call this IT devices. And we'll see why in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I can add tags if I want to or a description. But I'm going to go ahead and hit create to open this application. So now that I've opened this application, it's giving me an option to add data. That's kind of the most important thing, right? So basically, it gives me a couple options: data catalog, files and other sources, or the data load editor. And there are some pros and cons, some similarities and differences. For beginners, your best option is data catalog or files and other sources. These are a little more forgiving and a little easier to get started with. I'm going to choose the files and other options or other sources option. So after this view loads, I'm going to see a few things. On the left side, I have the ability to type in data, sort of like in a spreadsheet view, just for quick data entry. And then I also have an option for data files. So I can actually upload data files, whether it's CSV, Excel files, JSON, Parquet files, whatever. I can upload that into Qlik so that I can get started quickly. I don't necessarily have to connect to a database or pull from an API. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And notice that this is going to be placed, these files are going to be placed in my space that I just created. So spaces hold your files and your connections. So I'm going to click on data files, and then I'm going to click on the data files folder right here. And then it's going to give me an option to drop a file or select a file. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and drop a file there. I'm actually going to load two files. So the first one, I'm going to pull this in from off screen. This is going to be called IoT Devices Basic, and this is a QVD file. So for my list of options, I could have chosen Excel files, HTML files, delimited files, etc. but QVD stands for Qlik View Data File. And this is basically a special Qlik file that lets me load data very, very quickly. It's in a very compressed format. So you can see I already have a lot of data in here, and I have the ability to choose what fields I want or not. I'm going to have everything selected, and then I'm going to hit the green Next button. And after my data loads, I now have the option to either immediately start playing with that data, or I can go back and kind of massage that data and clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to choose that option. In order to do that, I'm going to click on the drop down at the top left. I'm currently on Sheet, which is sort of your dashboard canvas view. And I'm going to switch that to the Data Manager option because I want to manage the data that I've loaded in. So you can see this little floating bubble here is that table I just loaded in, that QVD file. And I can preview that data down at the bottom. This is just a preview. I can scroll and I can see all of my fields and all of my columns and cells. So now let's say I wanted to load in another table. In Qlik, one of the biggest powerful features is the ability to load in multiple tables and associate them together. This is sort of like joining tables together, which you can do, but you don't have to. I can just associate tables on a field. So I'm going to hit Add Data. I'm going to hit Files and Other Sources again. Now I could connect to a database or another file source, but I'm going to go ahead and upload another file here. And this one is going to be called Features. All right, this is another QVD file. Again, it could have been an Excel or a CSV. And I'm going to hit Next to load it in. So I now have two tables here. And if I move my table around and hover over another table and then drop it, I can actually connect them. And Qlik will tell me what it thinks those tables can connect on, as far as what fields I can join. So this one correctly finds a features key. And that does indeed act as a primary key between these tables. So after I've done that, I can go ahead and hit the Load Data button at the top right. And that loads both of my tables, and I can now get started in Qlik. Now, I could also edit some of the data in my tables just by selecting a table or double-clicking. And it gives me a bunch of options for modifying the data inside my tables. I can replace values, I can set nulls, I can reorder my fields, or I can even split one column into multiple columns. I can also add completely new fields using formulas. What I'm going to go ahead and do, though, is show you how to build an app. Because really, the power of Qlik is being able to do things quickly and easily. So I'm going to go to the top left and hit Data Manager. And then I'm going to go to the Sheet view once again. So now I have a blank canvas here, and I can edit it by hitting the pencil icon up at the top right. And now I'm in the editing view, so I can start creating. On the left, I have fields where I can see all of the columns and all of the tables that I've loaded in. You can even see Qlik recognized date fields and has created subfields: year, quarter, month, week, date. It's done all that automatically for me. What's also nice is for any one of these, I can actually click on a field and I can see what the values are. I can hover over and see what the individual values say, as well as how many of those values appear. And I can even search for specific values. Also on the left-hand side, I see charts. And this is the kind of the bread and butter of building a dashboard, is adding in visualizations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a KPI and I'm going to click and drag that in. And it puts it onto my canvas in sort of a grid. And I can pull one of the anchors and resize it very easily. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to add another KPI right next to it. So now we can add some data to our KPIs so that they have meaning. I'm going to hit Add Measure, And this is going to allow me to see all the fields, once again, that I have in this application. And what I can do is I can choose one, and I can do a sum, a count, an average, anything like that. So let's do device ID, and then it shows me those options, and then let's do count. Okay, 5,000 device IDs. So 5K looks good, but let's make that an actual number. I'm going to come to the right side where I can see the properties. The properties pane on the right side here is going to update depending on what you click on. If I don't click on anything, this shows me the options, the properties for the sheet itself, for this canvas. And I can change the grid, the background color, the title, anything like that. Or I can select an object, and now I'm seeing the settings for that object. So in my KPI, I'm going to click on the device ID option right there, which is what I just added to that KPI. I can see that count of device ID and then the formatting. So I'm going to click on auto, and I'm going to change that to number. And then there's another option below that where I can further specify that I want sort of a whole number with a comma delimiting my thousands. Okay, I can even add a label to say number of devices. All I did was hit enter after I typed that, and it immediately updated that KPI. And that's another kind of feature here of being able to move really quickly. There's no sort of save button anywhere. That's another thing you'll notice. There's no save button because Qlik automatically saves everything that you do. And keep in mind, you can always undo with the buttons at the top that let you do undo and redo. So it's a full-fledged dashboard creation tool. And you can also drag things in from the left, including fields. So we don't have to just use the button over here. We can also drag in manufacturer. So I can drag that in and drop it right on top of my KPI, hit add as measure, and let's do a count. Looks like the same number. That's okay. Another thing we can do, though, is we can modify this expression. So I'm going to add the word distinct and hit enter. So now I'm seeing the number of distinct manufacturers. And I can update that label to say distinct manufacturers. Again, I just hit enter to update very quickly. Now I'm going to go to charts, and I'm going to add a bar chart. So I'm going to drag that in and resize it so that takes up a little more room. And now another way to add data is in the properties pane and the settings for that bar chart. I can hit add, and then let's do building. Okay. And now let's add devices again. So devices is right here, but if I wasn't sure where it was, I could start typing at the top to search for it. And I'll do device ID. And now I need to add a measure. So I'm going to hit add measure. And I see device ID right there, but I could always search for it just like that. And I'll do device ID, and I'll do count again. And now I can see just that easily the number of devices in each building. And I can even add a title right here, devices by building. We can even change the appearance of this bar chart by clicking on appearance at the bottom right, then going to colors, toggling auto, and then from this drop down, I can choose measure, for example. So now the taller the bar, the darker the blue, and the smaller the bar, the lighter the blue. I can change the colors down here, and I can even change the layout of this bar chart, including the axes. I can go to presentation. I can do a horizontal view, for example, and I can change as well whether or not values appear on the bars, just like that. Now I'm going to resize this over. And let's say that this is a good start for what I want. So now I'm going to exit editing mode. And what I can do is immediately start interacting with the dashboard. So I can select bars in my bar chart to drill into that data. I can also drag along the axes as well if I want to select things that way. And then up at the top, I can modify my selections just by choosing that filter pane and then making selections in here and even searching. So this is really the beauty of Qlik, is the ability to load data very quickly and easily and in an organized fashion. We created that space, we created an application, we uploaded our data, and it's all within that one silo, right? That IT devices silo. And now that makes it easy for me as a report builder to access that data and start building with it. But it also gives me peace of mind that it's only me and my team that can use that data, not others that don't need access to it. So we just experimented with creating a space and then creating a dashboard application and loading in some data files. But the possibilities are endless. In your first week of using Qlik Cloud, you should really try and test out as many features as you can. Some of the other features, just by looking at the create page on our homepage, is creating data flows, which lets you move data and create workflows for your data. You can also create knowledge bases, which lets you have like a chat interface with your data files. Then you can also create machine learning experiments. You can also create automations to connect with outside services to move data around or have things happen when certain things in your data happen. And then you can also create things like notes to collaborate with other developers and keep a running list of things that you want to do within your dashboard. And then you can even do table recipes, which are just very simple ways of being able to modify and clean your data. If you want to use the same data files that I'm using in this video, you can actually download them yourself for free off of the Arc Academy for Qlik page on our community in school.com. And basically, you just go to our page and then you go to Classroom. And then from there, you can find it in the Qlik Resource Vault. It's called Demo Data IoT Devices, and you can download it directly from there. Feel free to check out the rest of our community. We post a lot, and we are going to put up more content there, including videos and courses on how you can make the most out of Qlik Cloud.